my gosh, look at this backdrop for Chris Grant. He's in the holiday spirit. Chris Grant, the Southland Conference Commissioner, joins us. My wife, her birthday is November 1st, Chris, and we decorate for Christmas every year on that day. So I'm already a month in of Christmas. So I'm loving the backdrop.
Thank you. I thought I'll get in the holiday spirit. Of course, now, what other conference has their own ornament that's out of an oyster shell? That's the true South and our regionality here in New Orleans and Texas and along the coast. So, just thrilled to join you all today. So thanks for having me, Paul.
Chris, Incarnate Word this weekend, and I do want to talk about the documentary before we let you go because it's really interesting take on in lieu of media days. But Zach Calzada, people may have forgotten that Zach Calzada, where he went. This is a dude who a couple years ago beat Alabama in one of the craziest upsets in college football the last decade. He's Southland Player of the Year, just tearing it up there for Incarnate Word, which is now a quarterback in the FCS playoffs. How fired up is the conference for Incarnate Word and what they're doing right now?
Yeah, couldn't be more thrilled. I think you mentioned this. First, talk about Zach, phenomenal student athlete, excelled at the highest level. Came and took an opportunity at UIW and took the reins from Lindsey Scott, who took them on to beat close to beating North Dakota State in a Final Four appearance 2 years ago. And then before that, you had Cam Ward, right, Heisman Trophy candidate. That's at Miami now at UIW. And so what Coach Killo and the rest of the UIW administration, and Richard Duran and President Evans, what they've built there, they've truly made their mark on FCS football. And every year people look forward to that high-powered offense. And now they had a defense to do it. So the number 6 ranking going in, playing Villanova at number 11 this weekend, but being able to host and getting the first round bye, we couldn't be more thrilled that our champion is on the right stage. I heard you all talking about, the CFP playoff and how that's going. Look, I've always said, hey, they've always copycatted what we've already done in FCS with the playoff. But again, it's some of the best ones get left out every year. But most importantly, as long as you have that one and all cream rises to the top, and UIW is that for the Southland Conference this year.
Chris, I think they could use some pointers on how to pull off a proper playoff, and it seems like your version has a lot less drama.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's something we had one left out. We thought Southeastern Louisiana had a really good shot. Mm-hmm. They scheduled strong. That's what you're hearing in CFP level. Hey, we're scheduling strong. Now, Southeastern Louisiana, they didn't get all the results they wanted, but the notice was, hey, go schedule. We did that, went beyond and our borders and played those games. And, they still didn't get in. So, what is the metric? When you leave it up to people, I related to gymnastics. I love gymnastics, especially collegiate gymnastics. But when the judges get involved, you lose me, right? Because I see the phenomenal performances. And that's what's happening with our playoffs. And, we'll get together in a room here come January and again in the summer. And I'm sure we'll hash it out at the highest levels when it comes to CFP as well as FCS.
So, as a conference commissioner, how much at this time of year especially, do you balance the lobbying, right, and have the resume talking points ready and kind of know when to attack something because you feel like you're maybe being disrespected and when, like, hey, it's just kind of part of the deal? Like, how do you personally kind of handle those issues and know when to put forward for the Southland?
No, that's a great question because, and I've debated with Southeastern, how far do I want to go? I was ready to set all Indianapolis on fire when they didn't get in. But at the same point in time, it's like, look, we do have to get the results. We schedule them, we got to win the games too. So, needless to say, let's schedule better and keep learning from the opportunities that are presented for ourselves. So, from my standpoint, I'll go as far as a coach or athletic director who would want me to go in order to get there. But when we get our response back, then we take that opportunity back to get better and tell our teams, the worst part is telling those student athletes they won't have an opportunity to participate, especially the seniors who is also eligibility. But, it's something that burns that fire. And you see, like UIW, for instance, got left out last year, number 6 this year in the country, right? They left nothing on the table for debate. You go out there and get your goal. And, really similar to what happened in the Big 12, Kansas comes along and beats everyone. Shoot, McNeese State, Houston Christian, Lamar, Stephen F. Austin now being back in the league, they all competed at a high level. And so it's a lot more parity in our league. Now you'll start seeing more teams rise. And I want to be that Missouri Valley Football Conference, Big Sky, where we have 5-4 teams in annually. There's no way the Southland Conference, as strong we've been historically, and who we have in our league now, we shouldn't at least have 3 teams in annually.
Chris, how has your job changed in the last year to 18 months that I mean, because again, all this stuff is happening really quickly. I know that the House settlement doesn't affect you guys quite the same way that it does everybody else, but it affects everybody.
Yeah.
It's there all of that. How is it different than the job before, which was kind of everything you've described of being the advocate and the cheerleader for the conference?
Yeah, no, I'm going to correct you, but politely, the House settlement impacts us all. So we'll take, as a conference, we take a $3 million haircut annually forward. And so for what that means for our budgets, look, we don't have the resources of the A4 conferences, but at the same time, we've been able to do a lot more. But a $250,000 cut per institution hurts a heck of a lot more than what it does at the major level. And so with that said, we've been willing to be creative and looking at, hey, what cuts can we make that don't impact the student athlete experience nor our promotion going forward as a conference, right? And been very mindful of that. So, look, we call ourselves the gas tank league for a reason. I'm taking a lot more road trips around this league instead of American Airlines and flying. And we're just looking at all angles and make sure we're using our membership dollars wisely. And the same thing for the membership. It impacts us. And so now with the House settlement, you also go back to the roster limits. I think we can come out on top of that because there's only 85 opportunities in football now at the A4 level. And so hopefully we'll see a lot more student athletes either from the high school level to committing to us early and staying, or even come back in and transfer to the FCS or to the Southland Conference particularly, because we're in the most talent-rich region in the United States, in Texas, Louisiana, and people want to play at home in front of their family and friends.
We talked about the fact that the playoffs are now getting underway, but how would you describe, how would you characterize Southland football in 2024?
In 2024, I would say, man, it was a David versus Goliath in the sense of what UIW brought to the table. They came in and again, they left nothing on the table for anyone to debate. But I would like to say all boats rise, right, with the tide. And essentially everyone understands what the standard is now. And we have two new coaching hires, one at McNeese, who was a long-time coach who had a lot of success before there, is coming back to us, Coach Viator, and as well as Coach Rebecki at Nicholls State, where a long-time coach and Coach Rebo, stepping down and deciding to go ahead and retire because, again, it's not that he couldn't handle the change. It's just going from what he got into this business for and the growing young men and watching them matriculate and being excited about graduating, right? We still have a great majority of our student athletes that want to do that. But with the House settlement and a lot of things that are happening in college sports, and you'll ask how the job changed, it's made it more of a transactional experience from that standpoint. And we have coaches that aren't interested in that necessarily. They'll conform to the times, but at the same time, they're about basically making sure our young men and young women are getting through college, graduating, and going to do great things with their degrees and making a positive impact on society.
All right, Chris, I know that conference like the Big 12, it's been discussed that they're going to have a naming rights sponsor here in the next year. I've got one for you. It's the Gas Tank Conference.
Yes,
Buc-ee's.
The Buc-ee's, where are you in my life? I stopped there. I'm picking up whether it be the brisket sandwiches, the nuts, the jerky. I'm like, hey, Buc-ee's, give us a call. But we've been knocking down doors nonstop, trying to find that great partner. And, a lot of that is our exposure, right? We're on ESPN platforms. We're getting ready to talk about another opportunity we have coming forward here. But more importantly, it's like, hey, we got to continue being on a national scale, getting those linear television opportunities. And I'm telling you, Buc-ee's or someone in that ballpark will come.
So you guys decided to do this Drive to Win documentary, 4-part documentary series, debuted last week on ESPN Plus, in lieu of media days.
Yes.
What brought that up? Like, media days can be an expensive thing. Look, Big 12 is in Las Vegas, and you're in Atlanta and Nashville, and like all these things. It's an expensive proposition. So is because our company, believe me, we produced a documentary about Baylor basketball a couple years ago.
Right.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap, right? But what was the thought in this to maybe bring in more eyes than you normally would at like a normal media days? Yeah,
well, you talk to our team and our athletic directors and presidents. Look, Chris is a good dude, but sometimes he's far out. He's like, but at the same time, look, we had just come off a great, phenomenal media day with football in San Antonio in partnership with the Texas High School Coaches Association. 17,000 head coaches around Texas interacting with all Southland head coaches, right, and student athletes. Great. Well, how can we capitalize on basketball, crossover during football season in this footprint? You don't mix with Texas or Louisiana football during that time of year because you're not going to get the extreme coverage you want. And there's only so many that, the Jeff Goodmans and others in the world that will, you have time and they want to do a stream. So I wanted to maximize exposures and the dollar. And that's what led us to go into a docuseries, because, one thing we haven't done since I've been here and historically is promoting the brands of our universities and their communities and how that ties in all together. So what better way to do it than a docuseries? I think everyone knows what Hard Knocks is. You see it on the SEC network. And like you said, I saw the Baylor back in 21, Baylor basketball. And so, but those are things that I want to follow a storyline or a student athlete. And I learned so much. Like, I knew we have phenomenal student athletes and what they do on the courts and the fields, but getting to know what the family situation is like, where they transferred from, what high school and why they chose that university for a degree program. Those are things you don't get day to day if you're not there, like the coaches. And I think our fans are in for a treat. If you haven't tuned in yet, it's on ESPN Plus on demand under the Southland Conference channel. Please tune in. I think you're going to leave and you're going to be following some great mid-major basketball all year.
Do you get like an EP credit on that?
Yeah,
Chris?
I did that. You know what? They threw the commissioner a bone for once. I do. I have an executive producer. Our guy James Hill is in our office, and we have a phenomenal and a true executive producer, and Spencer Wilking, who's done bluegrass basketball. He had a little tidbit on The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. And so tapped into some of my old Pac-12 ties to find out who is that right person to bring our brand to life. Our voiceover. That was one thing I didn't know, how important a voiceover is when you're narrating something like this. And so we went out and found one of the professionals. You'll hear his voice and Mr. Brown from Fox Sports and what he does for the opener of the Fox NFL. And so with all that said, it's a phenomenal deal that's going to bring the Southland to life. And if you all haven't heard McNeese, University of Texas RGV, as well as Corpus Christi, what they're doing out there, Nicholls State, and some of our bigger brands have been out there winning games right now. Now you can come see what they're doing behind the scenes and how they got here.
And you've got, we're just over a month away from the national championship game, which you guys host every year at Toyota Stadium in Frisco. What would it mean to see a Southland team in that, a month from now?
Look, that's one thing I've been vying for since I got is myself being able to host one of our teams and their fan base and going just crazy and blowing Frisco out of the water, right? And telling Texas all about the good things that we have in the Southland Conference. We had success back in 21 when Sam Houston State was a part of our league and then winning the championship. We want to bring that back. We tasted it almost, like I said, with UIW and North Dakota State in the Final Four 2 years ago. It's time for us to come back and stake our claim. Missouri Valley football, we love the Dakotas coming in, what they do for our tourism and putting monies and heads and beds back into this community. But I want to see our Southland folks driving up here, stopping at Buc-ee's, and then celebrating their teams along the way.
All right. Well, we need to tag them in this in our social posts. Like, hey, Buc-ee's, give us a call. Yeah.
Hey, what's Deion say? One of your alums. What he say? Hey, I'm not hard to find.
That's right. Chris, so much fun having you on the show. Can't wait to have you on again. Hopefully maybe around the national championship game we'll get you on again to talk about that. Chris Grant, Southland Conference Commissioner. Chris, thanks so much for being on the show.
All right. Hey, thank you, guys. Happy holidays to you and yours, and thrilled to watch everything you all do. Thanks for covering the Southland as best you do.
There you go. Thank you, Chris. That's Chris Grant, Southland Conference Commissioner.